Turning now to Pennsylvania, where Republicans in both the State House and the Senate last week pushed through a bill that would declare the state's constitution provides no right to an abortion. Specifically, the bill, which still faces a few legislative hurdles, would ask voters to approve amending the state's constitution. The amendment would also specify that tax dollars can't be used for abortions. The move comes 2 weeks after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and followed hours of contentious late-night debate in the Pennsylvania House, with one House Democratic leader framing the move by her Republican colleagues as an attack on women.
We're talking about women dying. We're talking about more than half the population not being able to make decisions when not even half of this body has a uterus. That's what we're talking about tonight, and that's why these rules need to be suspended, because we don't follow the rules in this body. Let the people back home know.
Joining me now, Pennsylvania Democratic State Representative Joanna McClinton. So first of all, thank you so much for being here today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, I mean, I don't need to even say that that was an impassioned speech. I think people can see the passion in the video clip there, but help us understand how dire this vote is for people who can get pregnant in the state of Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. So when we talk about women having access to health care, abortion is health care. It is a part of what we've been able to access for just about 50 years as a federal right. And when we talk about the high maternal mortality rates for women that look like us, Black, Brown, Latino women, the fact that we lead the nation in needing access to more health care as it relates to our reproductive rights, we're so disappointed and outraged by the highest court rolling back that right. And then for my colleagues across the aisle to not even let the state reps that I serve as their leader to speak out against this was just absolutely outrageous.
I mean, one of the things I always wonder, and I don't know why people don't just ask this question out front when we're talking about healthcare access and reproductive healthcare access, is why do men get to say anything about it? I mean, why do you get to weigh in, sir? You don't have a uterus. You made this point. I mean, why do you think your male colleagues think they have a say here? Sir, you can't get pregnant.
It's an unfortunate reality that we are in still male-dominated politics in 2022. In Harrisburg, out of 230 state representatives, only 60 are women. So when I'm talking about less than half, it's less than 30%. They should not ever have a say. No man should have a say on what women decide to do with our bodies for our own health care, for our safety. And there are a myriad of circumstances in which abortion care is actually necessary to save the life of a woman. But the truth of the matter is, not only should they not have a say, it is none of their business. And had we gotten to a point in debate where we were going to actually speak out against it, that was all I was going to talk about. It's not my business what women across Pennsylvania does, just the same way it's not their business what women across Pennsylvania do.
It's so fun. It's like, mind your business. You know, like, I feel like it's a scene from Fresh Prince. I want to play another part of your speech where you talk about being silenced. Let's take a listen to that.
But here we are, being silenced yet again. And understand, when you're silencing us, we are actually elected officials like you all. So you're silencing millions of voters from every corner of the Commonwealth when you silence us and don't allow us to amend bills that won't let people vote, that won't allow women to make their own decisions. You're silencing all of us. Those same voters that you tried to silence in 2020 when you didn't like the outcome of the election. Those same voters that you said it didn't matter what they chose. Those are the people you're trying to shut up.
My favorite thing is when men tell me to be quiet, to be like, no, I'm really not going to do it. Like, I'm definitely not going to be quiet. I had a caller call in on my radio show yesterday telling me to quit yapping, and I was like, I will continue yapping on my own radio program. So break down for us the silencing that you see that's going on from state level from the state level to the voters there. I mean, you represent constituents. How can you stop the silencing, as you described it, of you and your colleagues who are speaking up for those constituents who are impacted?
So there are 90 members in the Pennsylvania House Democratic Caucus to the 113 Republicans in the Pennsylvania Republican House Caucus. And whenever there is a controversial issue, Republicans in Harrisburg think they can do a remote control mute button. They think they can just hit the mute button, tell all of our members to sit down. They end debate by using procedural mechanisms and maneuvers to get us to stop talking. They don't allow our amendments to even get a down vote on the bill. And this bill on Friday night, they would not even allow us to amend in committee. So this bill that would change our Constitution, that would outlaw abortion, it came through the Senate and the House in less than 24 hours. And instead of simply allowing debate, like when that speech happened, it was about 8:30. Our rules allow us to vote until 11 o'clock at night. And we only had about 7 more members waiting to speak. But once again, they're like interrupting everybody. As you can hear, the majority leader is interrupting me, and I had to say I'm speaking like our Madam VP, to let you know you hear my voice, don't interrupt me either.
I'm speaking. That was a pro tip for everybody. Everybody can utilize that in their own personal lives. I mean, why are you so passionate about the issue of abortion access? I know why I'm passionate. I think of it as an issue of bodily autonomy. As a survivor, it's fundamental for me. But what is it for you that makes you say, I'm going to lift my voice and raise my voice and refuse to be silenced when people push back when you're talking about the issue of abortion?
So for me, it's first and fundamentally a human right. We have seen our Supreme Court over centuries evolve in their interpretation of the law. But this is the first time the Supreme Court, which is now radical and right wing, has limited and rolled back a right, a constitutional right. And as an attorney, as a Black woman, as one who's quote unquote in childbearing age, I find it as a personal offense that this court gets to tell me what my rights are and the women in my community and the women across Pennsylvania. And when I hear the term that it's a state right, that to me is code. States' rights equals Jim Crow. States' rights equals disenfranchisement. So I also see it as the chipping away of so many other rights. We know that when there's an avalanche, it always starts with just a little bit of snow. And so I see this as an avalanche where they're going to attack many other rights. So if we don't get loud and mobilized and outraged about them coming for this first right, we cannot predict what will be next.
It's such an important point. Everybody needs to pay attention in this moment. It is human rights issue at stake here. Representative Joanna McClinton, thank you so much for being here. It's great to talk to you. Please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.